Ready? 1, 2, 3. And now we're rolling. So guys, welcome to why the Kawasaki 636 is the best street bike. Enjoy this dual GoPro setup, as I had to upgrade to the Hero 7. Now that will be a whole nother video, but long story short, it was time for an upgrade. We've got the Hero 7, which is on the helmet here, and then we've got the Hero 5, which is mounted just below or on the windscreen, upside down, facing this way. Now, this view is going to be a little different because I'm not at the track, and that's really what that view is going to be for, is for track days and things of that nature. Obviously the chin mount will stay, but for track days you cannot have a helmet mounted GoPro, so that's what this guy is for. I wanted to use my Hero 5 as a secondary means of capturing alternative footage at different angles, and this one just, I thought about doing it on the top. Everybody does that, and even then I'm not super big on that angle. With it being down low like this, I feel like it gives you a better perspective of cockpit view and body positioning and things of that nature. I'm pretty excited about it, to say the least. I'm very curious to see what the vibrations will be like, if it gets any at all, so that'll be quite interesting. But with the Hero 7, I've got the GPS on. I will lay some GPS overlay. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. Also, Hyper Smooth is on. We're filming at 2.7K, 60 frames per second, super view with Hyper Smooth on. And then the Hero 5 is just at 1080, 60 super view as well. I don't know, supposedly the GoPro does have some kind of image stabilization, but I have not known about it. And I was playing with an app and it showed it had it, or I could turn video stabilization on, so that I'm not too sure of. We'll see how this goes, and if we like it, we'll keep it. With that out of the way, let's talk about why the Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R, or as most of the community, well, maybe not most, but a majority of the community knows it also as the 636. This bike has a lot of history. It's had a lot of revisions. It's had a lot of success. In today's market, I do believe the 2019, out of all the other 2019 600 models, is the best sport bike, the best 600 for the money. Now, the previous years, that's tough to say, because this bike has had its lows and had its, highs. And I believe overall, it's been one of the top performing bikes. Now, Yamaha has reigned supreme forever. Honda has had a very good 600 double R. It's old, outdated, unchanged, but it is a solid platform. And Gixxers, they've always been good street bikes. Now, this is going to be more geared towards street riding and maybe the occasional track day riding. I'm not going to include a race, this bike in race trim, by no means, just because it's not everybody, and most of everybody's not going to be using this bike or their 600 bike for race or club level racing usage. That can be a whole nother video. Just leave a comment and let me know below. And before we even get started, leave a comment and let me know what your favorite 600 bike is. It doesn't even have to be from a Japanese manufacturer. It can be from, any other motorcycle manufacturer for that matter. So let's talk about why the Kawasaki's so good. Well, I believe the number one reason is this 636 engine. This bike does a lot of things well, but one of the best things that I've noticed about this bike is the way it makes power. It makes power very, very smooth. It's very consistent. The delivery is spot on. And even in the low RPM range, from about 3 to 8,000 RPMs, the power is so linear and smooth and controlled. And it just has that extra little bit of torque, and that's, I do believe, from the extra 36 cc's this bike has. You're thinking, man, that's really not that much, but on this bike, it just works. It's a beautiful combination. It gives it that over the edge factor for being a street bike, because you know you're really not wringing the neck on a street bike on the road, unless you know you're not. And just to be able to cruise around town and just kind of get up and get going and get out of the way, it's really nice. My first street bike was an R6. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the bike. I loved it. It was fantastic, but it had no bottom end.
I would like to purchase one of your butts.
It did not have that power up top. It would rip, but it did not have the bottom end power that I wished it would have had. I know these engines are really meant to be revved out, and that's, again, these bikes are they're race proven, which at the track, you know, your peak powers is where it's at. And with these bikes being able to rev so high and so fast, you're gonna get a lot of your power up top, which this bike does deliver. Now the red line is a little bit lower than, you know, your other 600 bikes, but it makes up for it down low, and it's really a good package. And even revving this thing out, the power, it doesn't drop off. It's very linear. It stays very smooth and consistent all the way through. Reason number 2 why I do believe the Kawasaki ZX6R is the best street bike is the ergonomics. Now, the only thing this bike is lacking is the seat height. It's not the shortest, where the Gixxer has got this bike beat, but it is, I would say, probably the comfiest, the most even seat. Even though this bike has a nose pitch to it, it's really comfortable. The Gixxer I can flat foot no problem. This bike I can almost flat foot. I'm very close. But with the redesigned seat on this bike, you're not hugging the tank, so you're not nose diving. It's more leveled out. The seat's a little narrower, so your feet go more straight down to the ground, and it makes it for more of a comfortable ride too. I've got plenty of room to scoot back or scoot up in the saddle, which is key. That's really nice, and that gives you that extra bit of flexibility when riding. The ergos on the handlebars, super comfy. You don't get a lot of strain on your wrist. You're not super hunched over, but you're not straight up and down, obviously. And that is key for your longer rides if you plan on putting, you know, 200 to 300 miles on this bike in a day. If you plan to go ride some curvy roads or anything like that. And then to finish out the ergos, you've got your rear sets. And I'm going to add one extra thing with the rear sets, and that has to do with the tank positioning and placement and things of that nature. But the rear sets, they are pushed up a little bit, so you do get some knee flex, but they're pushed up a little bit, and they fit right into this tank, into the tank indentation. If you're on the balls of your toes or the balls of your feet, if you would rather say, you've got a good placement. And even if you're on the, you know, if you're flat footing it, you're in that cup of your foot, you still have a good placement. Either way you go, you're not gonna get a bad position by no means. And it's not too low where you feel like you're on a touring bike, but it's not too high to where, you know, it adds that extra stress, extra wear and tear on your hip flexors, on your quads. On a R6, which is very aggressive, you kind of feel that burn at the end of the day, and it's like you've been doing squats all day, what you really haven't. Reason number 3 why I do believe this Kawasaki is the best street bike: price range, or the price tag. The base model with the quick shifter comes in under $10,000. You cannot get that on any other 600. The value you get out of this bike is par none. They can't touch it. Then that moves on into the features, right, of this bike. You get traction control, power modes, and ABS. ABS is a little bit more. It's not, I think it's like 10.4 or 7, I think it is for ABS, something like that. And even then, you're getting, I do believe, the best electronics package for a 600. Now, the R6 does have some good electronics, power mode, traction mode, ABS as well, but this ABS, it's the Kawasaki Intelligent Braking System, which is a hybrid predictive system. So it actually predicts wheel lockup, and it'll intervene even before that. And I have tried this out quite a bit, and it does a very, very good job. The traction control, very good. You have off, 1, 2, and 3. My pinky doesn't close, so 3, 4, whatever. And it seems like it's almost a predictive system, because even when I had it in 3, which is the most intervening mode, if you will, or setting, I would leave it in full power mode, and this is on dry asphalt. I would punch it and just trying to see if I can get that system to kick in, and it would light up the KTRC, traction control, and it would let me know it's intervening. And obviously I can feel it on the bike. It's modulating the valves, or the throttle body valves, spark, and things of that nature to keep the power linear and to keep it from spiking up. I've done it on 2. I've done it on 1. It's kind of hard to get it to intervene on 1, and then off is off. I'm not brave enough to ride this with it off yet. And again, you're getting that on a $10,000 bike. I'm sorry, a $9,000, under $10,000 bike. And it's just so good. You would just never think that a bike of this caliber would be this good and so fast. And I think my last and final reason for the Ninja ZX6R being the best street bike, hands down, has got to be this suspension. Well, we'll include brakes, suspension and brakes. And I'm going to include both because they complement each other so well. You just can't talk about one without mentioning the other. This is street reasoning mainly, but this suspension, it's got Showa suspension on it, front and rear. It's adjustable, fully adjustable. You think about a motorcycle, especially a sport bike, you know, it's designed to handle corners, take corners, things of that nature. So the suspension is naturally going to be harder, more stiff, more rigid, you know, and not have a lot of play into it. And that is true. This bike does have a pretty tight suspension on it. It is very, very soft in the sense that it doesn't beat you to death as you're riding it. It's hard to describe. You do feel the bumps in the road, but you don't feel every bump. Man, you just cannot have a better all-around motorcycle. And then to complement that is the brakes. The brakes bite so hard, and with that good bite, that initial bite, you get good continuous deceleration. You know, it doesn't just have that good bite and then drop off, or it doesn't have an okay bite and then gradually get better. It has an amazing bite, and then it has amazing, consistently good deceleration, which is huge. The confidence you get out of the brakes coming to a stop, it will allow you to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the corners and get better and better as you progress as a rider. And when you're going into a corner and you're diving in on the brakes, you've got the front end compressing, suspension's taking all of that momentum into the forks, the front forks, into the handlebars, you know, holding on to the tank with your knees, and you have that just easy going, come to a particular speed you're trying to achieve, and it does it so well. You know, you're not afraid to really get on the brakes. You're not afraid to go faster into a corner. And if we're gonna, you know, I know that was a little bit track sided, if you will, but let's say someone like that Nissan swerved over and hit out their brakes, or someone pulled out in front of me, I can easily and comfortably come to a very, very, very controlled stop. And with the ABS on my side, it's like a 10 out of 10. I mean, I've ridden other bikes, leader bikes, 600s, supermotos, sport touring, nakeds, sport nakeds, hyper nakeds, whatever, you name it, and nothing has given me this same amount of confidence. So that is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you've learned something, and if you have your take on your favorite 600 bike, leave a comment down below and let me why. I'd be very curious to know, interested to know, and we can keep the discussion going and have a good, productive conversation. But those are my reasons why I think this ZX6R is the best sport bike on the market. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button if you enjoyed this video. That way it helps me and helps me grow and keep producing content for you guys. Let me know what you think about the two angles. If you enjoyed it, let me know. If not so much, or you'd like to see an angle somewhere else, let me know down in the comments. But other than that, guys, you guys ride safe, have fun, and we'll see you on the next one.